Thank you, Jerry. Okay, I'm going to take a deep breath and we'll get started. I'm working with a brand new iPad this morning, and so if this goes completely off the rails, you'll know what happened. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Danbury. My name is Todd Zagorek. I've been coming here since 2010, so I guess almost 15 years. Lately, I've been participating in a committee that Stanley Heller has organized to show solidarity with the Palestinian people. And this is in furtherance of the action of immediate witness that the UUA had announced previously. There is some material on the cabinet with the hymnals. On top of that cabinet, there's some informational sheets that I would encourage you to pick up and read over. We are also planning an excursion that I want you to just keep in the back of your mind, and you'll hear more about it. On October 27th, we're planning an excursion to the Palestine Museum in Woodbridge. And I think it is primarily, if not exclusively, an art museum. Is that right, Stanley? I think it'll be a lot of fun. So, please mark that on your calendar, and there'll be more information about that as time comes on. And my iPad just went to sleep, but I will wake it up. And speaking of devices, now would be a good time to silence your phones and your other devices if you've got them. This morning, we will continue our month of exploring the theme of invitation. And our minister, Reverend Tony Lorenzen, will reflect on what it means to accept the invitation into covenant in a community such as ours. What it means to accept that invitation to deep involvement and commitment. You may arrive this morning tired, weary, the weight of war, hatred, greed, and mean-spiritedness, oppressive and heavy. You may arrive this morning in a spirit of celebration, glad to have another day, to see friends, or carrying joy from the past week. You may arrive this morning unsure and unsteady, feeling neither here nor there, or feeling nothing at all. However you're feeling this morning, there's a place for you here, and together we will make this morning a celebration of community, support, friendship, kindness, and inspiration. You're invited to laugh and cry and share and be silent as you need to be. As we gather this morning, as always, we respectfully acknowledge that our building is on the traditional land of the Paugussett people. And before we start this morning, I invite you to greet your neighbors, either here next to you or across the room, and those of you online. That comes later. Yes. Thank you, Nell. Nell was our chime ringer this morning. Today, we invite you to remain with us after the service and join Reverend Tony Lorenzen and the membership committee for a 1-hour facilitated conversation on the topic of membership. There'll be a simultaneous discussion on the same topic with children and youth facilitated by Reverend Sierra Marie. Coffee hour will provide a little more food than usual in order to fortify us for the extra hour. Reverend Tony's Chalice Circle has been changed from the third Tuesdays of the month at 1 o'clock to the third Mondays of each month at 2 o'clock, and will now meet in the Cottage House Library. And Marcia Brooker's Chalice Circle is looking for 1 or more people to start to meet on the second Sunday of each month following the service. If you're interested in participating in either Chalice Circle, please contact Reverend Tony. Our congregation is returning to a live in-person fundraising auction format this year. There will be lots of goodies, lots of fun. We're looking for a major fundraiser to be a huge success. Please be thinking of what you can do to help, what you might be able to offer. Oh dear. Everything's okay. Can you donate a dinner, maybe a gift card or a service? Can you help at the in-person event on November 2nd? Please contact Barb Myers or Lisa Horton to volunteer or for more information. There's Lisa right there. And for more information and other announcements, see your order of service, please, or our weekly email newsletter and the events calendar on the website at uudanbury.org for a complete list of the events and announcements. And now we have our chalice lighting affirmation. We make this time and place holy simply by being together with each other. And we begin by lighting the flaming chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist tradition. Please join me in reciting the words to our chalice lighting affirmation. And Maisie will be our chalice lighter today. Thank you, Maisie. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and justice is its light. This is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek and speak the truth in love, to help one another and celebrate life. Now please rise in body or spirit as you're able in singing our hymn of welcome, Come and Go With Me. It's number 1018 in the teal hymnal, and the words will also be on the screen.
Together the words for our children's affirmation. They're on the screen. We are Unitarian Universalists. We are people with open minds, loving hearts, and helping hands. We care for the earth and each other. Okay, so I know that there is a superstition that you are not supposed to open an umbrella inside. I think that superstition probably has to do with not wanting to poke anybody in the eye or anything like that. We can choose not to be superstitious. So this morning I am going to open an umbrella inside. And the reason I'm going to open an umbrella inside is because an umbrella is a lot like a community. How's an umbrella a lot like a community? Any thoughts on that? Any ideas?
Opens up. It's a shelter.
It opens up and it is a shelter. Yes. Great. Any other ideas? Annie?
It's made of many parts.
It's made of many parts?
That work together.
Yes. How else? It's protective.
It's circular.
It's circular. Yes. And it's built for more than one person, especially this one. This one's a nice big one. Anything else? Oh yeah, Tony, what do you have?
It has parts of it that you can't really see from the outside that help hold it up.
It has parts of it that hold it up that you can't really see from the outside.
If one part goes down, the other parts can still function without it being completely broken and unusable.
Okay, so sometimes a part will break, but the other parts will still function and be completely usable. Yes.
It's universally accepted.
It's universally accepted? All right. These are all great. These are all great. I wonder how many people we can fit under this umbrella. Any kids want to help me test this out? Yes? Come on up. Come on up. Let's see. Let's see. Can we fit more? Can we fit more? What do you think? I don't know. I see a little bit more room here. Oh, here come Lana and Stella. Good, good, good. Do you think that there's any other ways we can fit people in here? No other ways we can fit people in here? Well, what if we wanted to make this bigger? What would we have to do?
Lift some people up.
Lift some people up. That absolutely can do. Can make more room in here. What else?
Get a bigger umbrella.
We could get a bigger umbrella. Is there a way to make this umbrella bigger? I wonder. Oh, I wonder. It looks as far as it can go, the way that it's built. I wonder if we could do a little extension design. I don't know. I don't know. Okay. All right. Go ahead and have a seat. So we have a big umbrella. And the thing about a big umbrella is that we can keep redesigning it all of the time to make more room if we need to, or to change how it works if we need to. Because an umbrella is just designed by people, right? And people can change designs all of the time. So ends our story for today. Okay, now I'm going to invite, let's see, Indy, I'm going to invite you to come forward for the lighting of our lantern, but I'm going to ask you to stay put for just a minute. If you are somebody who brought a food donation for Dorothy Day, can you raise it up into the air so that the kids can see it? Okay, we have some over here, some over here, some over there, some over there, some over here. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to put Lana. Would you mind coming up and being in charge of our basket again this week, since you know how to do it? Okay, so Lana's going to be in charge of the basket. The kids are going to come around and go through the aisles and collect food donations for Dorothy Day and put them in this basket. Yes, just leave the keys in there for now. Put the donations in the basket, and then while they're doing that, Indy, you and I are going to light the lantern to bring the light of our chalice downstairs. And we will sing together this little light of mine.
Let it shine, let it shine. it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Woo! Good morning. I'm Reverend Tony Lorenzen. My pronouns are he and him. And I am really happy all of you are here with us this morning, all of you here in the room and online. This is fantastic. Talk about shining. It is a bright, sunshiny, beautiful fall day. It's got my spirits lifted after some hard things that have been going on at home and in the world. So I'm feeling a lot more alive this morning, and I hope you are too. And if you weren't, I hope you're feeling a little bit more alive since you've been in the room with all of us. I want to invite you to take a big, relaxing breath in that sunshine in this bright, beautiful room. Settle into that chair. Be present to yourself. Be present to the community of love in this room. And present to yourself and aware of the community you're surrounded by, I invite you to let silence speak to you. Life is a constant, continuing, unfolding invitation. As Elizabeth Barrett Browning reminded us, earth is crammed with heaven, and every common bush afire with God. But only those who see take off their shoes. The rest sit round and pluck blackberries. I invite you to take off your shoes, to open your senses, to open your mind, to open your heart to the glory of all that is. Allow yourself to be present to wonder. Allow yourself to revel in the insignificant and the grand. For there is very little difference in the scale of the incredibly tiny and the unfathomably vast. Here, in quiet and community, I invite you to ponder. Ponder the big questions. Is it more confounding to hear the voice of God when it's only thunder? Or to hear only thunder when it's the voice of God? Here in this place of safety, I invite you to consider life as a constant and evolving invitation to the astounding. It only seems rare because we're often too busy, often refusing to look up, too preoccupied with yesterday and tomorrow to be here now. I invite you in wholeness, in body and spirit, to be here now. Notice the burning bush. Maybe it's time to move on from gathering blackberries.
Spirit of life, Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Our reading this morning is an excerpt from Belonging, the Meaning of Membership, a report by the Commission on Appraisal of the Unitarian Universalist Association. We have found it useful to distinguish between and among three categories of those who may be labeled Unitarian Universalist: identification, affiliation, and membership. Unitarian Universalists by identification are by far the most in number. They include not only those who are presently in some active relationship to a congregation, but presumably have had some relationship in the past, significant enough that they still identify themselves religiously by the name, even though they may be unchurched or even active in another faith tradition. Unitarian Universalists by affiliation include members as well as non-members who are associated with a congregation. It includes, first of all, the children, as well as other non-members in member households. For a variety of reasons, some individuals who are quite active in their congregations choose not to become members. They pledge, serve on committees, and are regular in their attendance at worship. Some will, in the course of time, become members. Others continue in this affiliated status indefinitely for their own reasons. Unitarian Universalists by membership are those who have fulfilled the requirements of membership for their congregations. In most of our congregations, these requirements are relatively minimal. Usually signing the membership book or a card of intent suffices. Some congregations have instituted a financial requirement. We propose these three categories of connection as tools for coping positively with the varying levels of commitment and participation that we see in our congregations. It is helpful for us to acknowledge the fact that it is the nature of our faith to have boundaries that are quite permeable. Now it's time for our offering. When you give your time and energy to the work of this congregation and when you donate to its financial support, you're giving gifts to each other. Each one gives to and receives gifts from all other members and friends. Together we give to the community around us. To make your gift this morning, you may use the QR code posted in the chat or projected on the screen. You can also mail a check to UUCD at 24 Clapboard Ridge Road in Danbury. And thank you for your generosity.
Are there so many songs about rainbows? What's on the illusions. Rainbows have nothing
part of a congregation is to accept an invitation into a deep and lasting relationship. In our tradition, we call this covenant. We're invited into what amounts to sacred vows, deep promises, not unlike partners in a marriage, not unlike monks in a monastery, not unlike comrades in the struggle of human existence. Here in our congregation, the covenant relationship is one that practices diverse, loving community, encourages spiritual growth, works for justice, and celebrates the good in life. This relationship is an invitation to comfort and care for others, an invitation to know and experience the variety of human differences, an invitation to do what you can to create a just and sustainable society, an invitation to pursue a continuous journey of spiritual and personal growth. How do you experience this invitation? Do you read a weekly email? Do you speak with me and Sierra Marie and Jerry and Sherry and Margaret? Are notifications always popping up on your phone telling you what's happening with a team or a committee? Or are you going to your mailbox every day expecting a printed embossed piece of cardboard? Are you listening for opportunities to get involved, participate, and attend things as they surface when you hear about them, perhaps even in casual conversation? Do you look for announcements in the order of service or from the pulpit on Sunday mornings? How do you experience being invited to participate in the relationship of covenant? I really believe that congregational life mirrors life in general. Invitations in this life to a vast array of things are fairly constant, but it's only when we take notice of them that they seem to pop up. So we miss a lot of them. I believe that we experience God, and you can do your own translation. We're Unitarian Universalists, whatever that is for you. I believe we experience God through the people, places, and events of our life. Life is one long, continuous invitation to come along, join the party, hang out, go on a date, be part of the club. Please join us. We'd love to have you. Most sincerely yours, all that is. Every moment of every day, the phenomenon of the cosmos swirls around us. But it's the morning we get up early, perhaps with a loved one, and go sit with coffee or tea on the porch, or take a walk in the city park, or go stroll along a beach somewhere, and watch and wonder as the star moves up through the atmosphere that we realize the invitation always being handed to us. Every moment of every day, we'll encounter people we don't know, strangers. They'll walk past us, drive past us, flash by us instantly on the internet. But it's only when that one person might step in front of us, open and hold the door as we're going into the supermarket or the bank, with a huge smile on their face, that we take notice of our fellow passengers on Spaceship Earth. Likewise, going to church on Sunday, showing up here attending an event, joining a committee, the week to week and day to day of existence in a faith community goes by like a lot of the rest of our lives sometimes. And I think from the outside, just about any faith community you want to study will look the same from a casual outside observance with these different things going on. But just as in the rest of life, when something breaks in, when the sermon says something that speaks directly to your heart, as if I wrote it just for you, I did. If a song Jerry sings is from your own private playlist of life's awesome moments, a soundtrack that's all yours, and yet you can't believe once again that Jerry read your mind, which he just did with me again with Rainbow Connection. When your children return from downstairs or outside, laughing and smiling, showing you something. When someone invites you to their place for dinner. When your committee receives a thank you letter from a community partner to which you made a donation or for whom you hosted an event. When you stand outside in the bitter cold, advocating for justice for the Palestinians. And all of a sudden, it's not the ordinary, I just went to church today. It's special. It's immediate, heartwarming, stirring, something that helps you get through and reminds you of why you even bother to belong to a faith community in the first place. Just like everything else, in a special moment, we notice. When it grabs our attention, we get it. When it snaps us out of our rambling shame of the past and anxiety about the future and gets us in that moment. That's when we realize the invitation is there all the time. It's there all the time. You come too. Join us. This party's for you. In fact, we're throwing it in your honor. Elizabeth Barrett Browning's poem epitomizes this. Every common bush is afire with God. Everything in the earth that's alive is brimming with that spirit of life we sing about. But only when we bother to notice, we take off our shoes. And taking off your shoes was an ancient and sometimes still common practice of when you're in a holy or sacred space. You're in holy ground, you take off your shoes. I have a Methodist minister friend in Texas who always preaches barefoot. And one day, many years ago, I asked her why, because the church is, holy ground. And she said, well, sort of, but it's more like everywhere is holy ground, and so is everyone. And I want everyone to know that. So barefoot. The covenantal relationship we are called to in this community asks us to go barefoot pretty much all the time, because love is at the center of everything. And that's how we show up. And even though we proclaim love is the center of everything, sometimes we don't put it there. We get sidetracked by stuff, our own selfishness, work, whatever's going on, health. So many things that we struggle with just in the day-to-day can push love out of the center a little bit, and we got to remember to tug it back in. The opposite of love and covenant, I really believe, is consumerism, something we're all brainwashed into in our society. The opposite of authentic relationship is transactional relationship. I'm only going to give you something if I get something back. And it better be worth the full $10 I gave you. And unfortunately, all too often church, and again, your own translation, church, synagogue, temple, mosque, whatever, your faith community, all too often, it gets transactional too. I went to a conference a few years back way before monthly themes had caught on in Unitarian Universalism. And the church hosting the event was in the middle of a sermon series on the topic of grace. It was a Christian church. The topic was grace. They were in the middle of a sermon series. And during the second day of the conference, I noticed something really interesting about all the posters and advertisements and little cards and flyers that were everywhere about this sermon series. Not one image, not one poster, not one announcement provided any other information other than it was May and the theme was grace. No Sunday mentioned by day or date. No titles of any sermon or talk. No specific description of what any Sunday's program was going to look like. All they were telling you was, we're talking about grace this month. Come, you're invited. I wonder if we could do that. What would happen if this week was the last week we published what all the upcoming services were going to be about? We're doing invitation this month. You're invited. We're so used to a market mentality that it seems almost alien not to have that in our religious setting. And yet that's not part of our religion. That's part of our culture that surrounds us. Our setting is about relationship. You're invited. Show up. Come on. This party's for you. We're throwing this for you. We often think about our relationship here transactionally. And I don't think any of us do it intentionally. It's the water we swim in here in 21st century North America. I don't like this or that. I want a church with youth programs. I want a church that has social justice. I want fewer hymns and more jazz. Got that? I'm put off if something isn't what I don't like. You know, I don't like it, I don't want to go. It's not for me. Heard a retired pastor of Riverside Church in New York City, big famous church. It was a couple years ago at the church they have every year at a Middle Collegiate down in the city. He was saying that you should not like everything that goes on in your church. In fact, it's bad if you like everything that's going on in your church. In a vibrant, multi-generational, multicultural congregation, he said, you should only really like about 75 to 80% of what's happening. And he said, but because if you like everything, if 99% of everything is right up your alley, you like 99% of what's going on at your church, you can be certain that your church will only appeal to people just like you. Hard to invite people to that. It's a real specific audience. You know, in our polarized age, it sounds a little tempting maybe at first that I want to like 99% of everything that's there, because some of what's going on around that's not for me is kind of really, oh my gosh. And it might be tempting to want that, but that's not beloved community. That's not radical welcoming. That's not diversity. That's not what we're called to do. That's not what we're invited into a relationship for. The relationship covenant invites us into is deep, and we live in a world of shallow relationships. A world where we call people friends who we acknowledge on social media. Covenant invites us to make friends. And not everyone in a congregation will be one's friend, but I certainly hope you have and will make more friends here. This is one of those places, a third place. It's not work, it's not home, it's another place where you can make connections with people who will get you, see you, hear you. Make friends that aren't your Sunday acquaintances, but people you invite more deeply into your life, and they invite you more deeply into theirs. Covenant invites us to that level of relationship, both in the congregation and the world. And it would be a fascinating and transformative experience if we allowed that invitation to permeate us so much that we felt invited into everything that's going on here. What if everyone was invited into leadership? Do you know anything about the Baha'i community? The Baha'i community has an astoundingly awesome way of choosing their faith community leaders. No matter the size of the community, from the local community like our congregation to the international governing body, when it's time to put new leaders on a team, and no one has like a position of leader, it's all a leadership team that governs everything at every level. When there are openings on that team, when it's time to choose a new team, everyone in the community votes, and there's no campaigning, there's no nominating committees. Everyone's given a slip of paper, and if there's 7 people on the leadership team, everyone's asked to write down 7 names. And the 7 names mentioned the most are on the team. And part of being a member of that community means if you're named, you serve. And they take this really seriously. I only got to know one Baha'i community any well. It was years ago, right after I was ordained outside of Boston somewhere, and the local interfaith group had a Baha'i congregation that was part of it. And when I learned about this, I just felt that was awesome. And the representative who came to all our meetings, she said, and we all take it very seriously, you know, don't name somebody you know just got diagnosed with an illness. Don't name somebody, you know, who's having a difficult pregnancy, you know, all the stuff. So name people you know who are intelligent and kind and understand Baha'i. And very rarely, she says, does anybody ever get named who really isn't qualified to do it? I just think that's amazing. What if we all felt invited to be leaders, sometimes on a leadership team, sometimes in our own way doing something else at some point in our life here, in some way. We have wonderful greeters. I think it was Jeff, got greeted like 4 times in a row. We were all just there. It was like he was pulling himself down the hallway when he got in. And we were all just there naturally. That was just like who we are. It was such a great moment. And we have great greeters, but we're all greeters. What if we're all invited to greet new people and make them welcome? What if it's everybody's job? We have amazing volunteers who work with Sierra Marie to create programs and community for children and youth. But we're all invited to make this place welcoming and supportive of children and childhood and parents and parenthood. We have a rather good staff. And board. And we're thinking always about how to grow our congregation, market our congregation, let people know about us. But aren't we all invited to do this work as well? Isn't this part of just being here? In fact, as a person invited into our covenant, the most vital and important thing you can do is invite someone else. In every study, in every survey that you ever see published about being invited to church, visiting a new church, participating in church, again, substitute faith community of your choice, the same thing always comes out on top. Why did you attend? A friend invited me. In some surveys and some studies, up to as high as 85 to 90% of respondents said they attended because someone invited them. If you're wondering ever about why there aren't more people here, or why there aren't more children or families, or more people of color, or more queer people, ask yourself, when's the last time I invited one of those people? Because that's the way most people who show up. As you have been invited, go forth and invite others. Now, Get ready. That's called evangelism. And that's a Greek word, and all it means is tell some good news. That's all it means. It's been associated with one tradition, but it doesn't have to be connected to that. That's all it means. Tell somebody some good news. I'm hoping that this month the theme has made you feel invited. Invited to deepen your participation here. And that deepening might be through attention, taking more notice, more detailed notice of our community life, paying more attention to what's going on, see what might be speaking to you. It might be taking a role of more responsibility on a committee or a team, volunteering a little bit more in one way. It might be deepening your study of Unitarian Universalism. It might be inviting someone you know to join us here. You can tell them this party's for you. You're invited. It's in your honor. And as I ask you to invite others, I once again invite you. I await your RSVP.
Thank you, Reverend Tony. By the way, my wife Melanie and I are here because Yvonne Rody Stein invited us. Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing our hymn of celebration, Answering the Call of Love. It's number 1014 in the teal hymnal and on the screen. You may know this as Standing on the Side of Love. It's the same song with a more inclusive phrase suggested by the composer. Please join me in the words for extinguishing our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world until we are together again.
I got an announcement here at the end though. So if you're staying for the conversation after service, please raise your hand. And Randy and Todd are going to give you, if you're staying, a piece of paper. So you're going to get a piece of paper with a bunch of questions for reflection on it, marked A, B, C, or D. That is the letter of your small group for the conversation. We're going to put signs up, but you can note that Group A will gather by the piano, B will be by the windows over here, C will be near the stair entrance over there, and D will be out in the lobby. So we'll put little signs up, A, B, C, D, to tell you where to go. There will be 4 facilitators, and they will rotate to visit each of the groups. And each facilitator will bring with them a couple of questions, and everyone in the group will get a chance to respond to those questions. And every 15 minutes, we'll kind of ring the buzzer here and rotate everybody around. So after we're done here, we will write up some notes. Facilitators will take notes and let you know what was said and what we can do with that. We're gonna have a little more substantial food, pizza and stuff at coffee hour. So I invite you to take 10, 15 minutes, get your coffee, get your pizza if you want it, find a chair, go to your groups, and we'll begin. Okay, our interruption has been made. As you have been invited, invite others.